Free trade agreements are designed to reduce or remove barriers to trade and investment. And the agreement establishing the ASEAN Australia-New Zealand Free Trade Area, or AANZFTA, is no exception. An important benefit is a reduction of import tariffs for certain goods that are traded between the 12 countries that are parties to the agreement. These are known as preferential rates of duty. Of course, goods are also traded with other countries, but the preferential rates of duty only apply to goods that originate in the region and not to those that originate from countries that are not party to the agreement. And that's why the agreement includes rules of origin. They determine which goods are originating under AANZFTA and therefore eligible for preferential tariff treatment. Let's briefly recap what the rules say.
Under the agreement, a good is originating if it's wholly produced or obtained in a party to the agreement, or it is produced in a party exclusively from originating materials from one or more of the parties, or it meets one of the product-specific rules that include regional value content, usually 40% if the final process of production has been performed within a party, a change in tariff classification, a specific process of production, or a combination of these.
Since the agreement's entry into force in 2010, it's included the concept of cumulation, which effectively widens the definition of originating products. Let's see how that's been working in practice.
A Malaysian company imports light bulbs from India for $10 and produces headlight componentry, which it exports to a company in Thailand for $17. The Thai company manufactures headlights by incorporating the imported componentry into locally produced housings. The completed units are sold to a Vietnamese scooter manufacturer for $20. Now note that the value added in Malaysia is $7, which represents 41% of the selling price to Thailand. As the regional value content is 40% or greater, these goods are deemed to be originating, and hence the Malaysian company can provide the Thai importer with a certificate of origin. And by virtue of cumulation, the Thai company can claim the Malaysian componentry as originating content, which enables them to obtain a certificate of origin for the headlights that are being exported to Vietnam.
What we've just seen is how cumulation works under AANZFTA currently. The production undertaken by the Malaysian company is only recognised as regional value content if the goods it exports to Thailand are deemed to be originating.
Yes, that's right. Regional cumulation only allows the cumulation of originating goods. So if the value added by the Malaysian company was only $6, the regional value content would be reduced to 38%, and the goods would be deemed to be non-originating.
So as we can see, even though some parties have added value to goods that originated from outside the region, that regional value add hasn't contributed to the originating content of the goods. And that's why the AANZFTA upgrade has introduced full cumulation provisions. Full cumulation allows value that's added to materials from outside the region to be taken into account for the purpose of deciding the origin of the goods. Let's see how they change the way in which originating content is determined.
A Vietnamese company imports batteries and electronics from Malaysia and motors from Indonesia, to which it adds frames and other equipment to produce electric motor scooters. The Malaysian company sources batteries from China, which it assembles into polymer-coated cells. The batteries cost $1,200 and the added value is $100. It sells the finished product for $1,300. The Malaysian company also sources printed circuit boards from China, from which it produces electronic controllers. The circuit boards cost $350 and the added value is $250. It sells the finished product to Vietnam for $600. The Indonesian company sources components from India, which it uses to produce motors. The components cost $1,300 and the added value is $400. It sells the finished product to Vietnam for $1,700. Let's look at the batteries first. The value added in Malaysia is $100, which represents 8% of the selling price, so they are non-originating. Now let's look at the electronic controllers. The value added in Malaysia is $250, which represents 42% of the selling price, so they are deemed to be originating and a certificate of origin may be issued. And now the motors. The value added in Indonesia is $400, which represents 24% of the selling price, so they are also deemed to be non-originating. Now let's look at the effect of full cumulation. First, the batteries. The regional value content, or RVC, is $100, which was added by the Malaysian company, and the Indonesian company added $400 of RVC to the motors. Because the electronic controllers, which were also sourced by the Malaysian company, were deemed to be originating and a certificate of origin was issued, we have another $600 of RVC. Now, let's turn our attention to the Vietnamese manufacturer who adds frames and other equipment to these imported goods to produce electric motor scooters. The RVC of this additional activity is $1,200. This brings the total RVC to $2,300. The motor scooters are exported to Thailand with a free onboard value of $4,800. As the RVC is 48% of the free on-board value, the scooters are deemed to be originating. A certificate of origin is issued and the Thai importer pays preferential rates of duty.
But the AANZFTA upgrade also provides an option for parties to opt out of the full cumulation arrangements. Let's see what this means.
Okay, so let's suppose that Vietnam has opted out of the full cumulation arrangements. As the batteries are deemed to be non-originating, no RVC can be claimed. Similarly, the motors are non-originating, and so the RVC of $400 is also unable to be claimed. However, the electronic controllers were deemed to be originating and a certificate of origin was issued, so the $600 of RVC can be claimed. And finally, the RVC of $1,200 that was added in Vietnam can be claimed. This brings the total RVC to $1,800. As we have seen, the motor scooters are exported to Thailand with a free onboard value of $4,800. As the RVC is now only 38% of the free onboard value, the scooters are no longer deemed to be originating. A certificate of origin cannot be issued, and the Thai importer pays full rates of duty.
As we've seen, full cumulation widens the definition of originating goods through more flexible rules on which regional inputs may count towards a good's originating status. In this way, it promotes regional economic integration and gives traders more flexibility in their sourcing decisions, thereby supporting regional value chains. But these benefits will only flow to producers in those countries that choose to participate in the new provisions, and consequently, industry should be fully consulted when these important decisions are being made.